Hello, this is Sonja from My Happy Space. Welcome back at my channel. Today I'm going to continue with my full deck challenge, and I'm doing week 7 and week 8. I'm just quickly show you a flip through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to test out my jelly plate that I've made myself. So I was totally inspired by Barbara from 49 Dragonflies when she's played with the jelly plate, but I didn't want to invest in it. So I thought I first want to make myself one, see if I like it, if it works, and if I want to invest in one. So I went on YouTube and I got a video, which I'll definitely link down below. Only thing you need is pure gelatin and glycerine and water. And obviously you just need to follow a few steps, be patient and things like that to make it. So I found it fairly straightforward to make it, and I personally think it turned out good. And I've played a little bit around with it as I showed you now with this print. Just played around with it, and I think it turned out well. I obviously don't have anything to compare it with. I'll tell you what I find a little bit difficult and which I think will be easier with a real jelly plate or not a shop bought one. Obviously, it's not going to look as professional. It is yellow because of the gelatin. There is a little bit of air bubbles, as you can see, but I don't think that affect the print very much. As far as I could see, it doesn't affect the print very much. So I'm just keeping it flat on a clear sheet in this container which I showed you earlier. I'm still looking for sort of a Tupperware or just a plastic container which will fit perfectly in. Now, one of the prompts for week 7 is zigzag. Now, the full deck challenge, if you don't know what it is, I will leave down the details down below. Also, it's just 4 prompts per card which you need to put on a card, like sort of art journaling, and one of it is zigzag. So I want to make a zigzag print with my new jelly plate. So what I'm going to do is now I'm just going to use these paints. The only disadvantage I can find so far with this jelly plate is the paint dry very quickly. It's quite sticky. I don't think a shop bought jelly plate is so sticky. But I find this one is fairly sticky and the paint dry very quickly. Now, the mistake I made a bit, I forgot to spray the jelly plate. And that is really a game changer. With the second time when I tried it and I sprayed it with water, it turned out so much better. The paint didn't dry quick enough, also quickly, and it just worked much better. So now, as you can see, I've put my paint on my clear sheet, and now I'm dipping and dabbing my roller, which I actually had, so I didn't have to invest in that. I put it over there and spread over there, but by the time I finished it, the paint was so dry already. Now I'm putting my stencil over it, and then I put a piece of paper. It's an A5 piece of paper. So I'm just rolling my paint off there, and then I'm going to use my hands later just to spread it a little bit. But if we take it off, you're going to see that, yeah, it was just so dry. It didn't really, the paint in between the stencil didn't pick up very easily because, as I said, the paint is very dry. So now, obviously, I've got this type of print. I think, I don't know, do you call it the negative or the positive? I don't really know. But now I'm going to do vice versa. I'm going to put a piece of paper on there to get a different type of print. But as you can see, when I lift up the stencil, most of my paint went out over it. So I'm just going to try to do that. Now, for my South African viewers, this to make the jelly plate was under 100 Rand. I had the roller, as I said, that might be also investment, which is a little bit more expensive. And a jelly plate in South Africa for 5 to 7 size, which is a bit smaller than this one, a fair amount smaller. That's about between 5 and 600 Rand. So I saved quite a lot of money. And so far, I think it worked nicely. And as you can see, I used a bottle of water and I sprayed over it. And you will see that the paint smear much easier. You mustn't put obviously too much water on it, so just a few spraying over it just to make the paint smooth a little bit. You can obviously get fast flowing paints also. You get obviously the spellbound paints, which is extremely expensive. I don't actually know why you would invest in something like that if you can just use normal acrylics. So now I'm smearing just all over, finding that it is much easier to do it with the water. And I'm just trying to get dimension. I think the interesting print you get is by actually lifting up and just putting it in different places on your jelly plate to create interesting colors, because obviously you don't want just one color unless that is the type of look you are going for. So I'm just putting my stencil yet again over there and try for the second time. Lots of fun playing around with it. Obviously I didn't play too much around with it for this video because I wanted, obviously my main focus is to do the full deck challenge, and I still had to do 2 cards, but I just wanted to show you what you can do, yeah, when you make your own jelly plate and how it works and turned out. I will leave another video also down below of a lady I've just gave a very good, I would say, tutorial about basics of jelly plate. So I love how that one turns out. So that one is much, much better. So now what I'm going to do, I've got that print now on there, and now I'm going to cover it with another color. So to tell you the truth, I'm not 100% understanding how the colors picks up. Yet again, I'm just making it a little bit wet so it can be easy to spray. But somehow I knew that if I'm going to put that pink over it, that chevron or zigzag patterns. If I haven't mentioned, that is one of the prompts for the 52 full deck challenge for this card. I think it definitely is going to be picked up, and this is actually my favorite one so far. I think the more you play with it, the more layers you put on top of it, the more interesting your print is going to be. So I think just play around, have fun, see what you come up with. As I said, this works so well that all the paint was lifted off, and here is my pattern. It's not perfect, but as far as I know, very rarely jelly plates prints are perfect, but it could be, I could be totally wrong. So now I'm just going to show you, it's fairly easy to clean. What I've done is I just take a wet wipe and just got rid of most of the paint, or the very big excess paint. I use hand sanitizer, which I think we all have now, lots of bottles lying around after COVID, so I was happy to be able to use them, and that worked beautifully. Just putting hand sanitizer over there and just wiping the paint off. It took me about 5 minutes to clean it, but I don't think that's excessive. I think it went very quickly, especially with the clear or the hand sanitizer. And I just use a new wipe, clean wipe, and just get rid of all of that. Yeah, I just kept that in to show you that it is fairly easy to do it, and I would really encourage you to give it a go before you invest in a jelly plate. I personally think it worked perfectly well for my purposes. I've watched another video of a lady comparing the two. If I can find that, I might also link that down below, and she was very impressed with hers. So yeah. So I've got my verses, which I'm going to put on for you who doesn't know, watch it for the first time. I usually, every week, I've got a verse of the week which stood out for me while I read through the Bible. And I've decided to back it up at the back of these full deck challenges, because there's 52 cards in a full deck challenge. So I thought I've got 52 verses that stood out for me during the year. I'm going to use them. I usually have a file which is sort of where I put my Bible study notes in, so I get it from there. So let me read you the prompts for the first card. It is obviously zigzag, which we've done now, that chevron pattern. A book page, which I've just took now, and I covered the card with a book page. And then coral, a coral color. Now this is the closest I had to a coral color. That is, the blue was ocean reef, so I thought, well, ocean reef is the closest I can have. Now the next one is a tree. Now I had so much trouble getting a tree. I just couldn't find a tree. Now obviously I looked for things. I think I looked for about 20 minutes for a tree. I couldn't find it. So I found this tree. I did cut it at the end out, as you can see, but I didn't like it. I just didn't like the green, and it was too shiny. So I went into this Reader's Digest book, and I thought, I'm just going to take a shrub that looks like a tree. It doesn't really matter. I mean, there isn't that really rules when it comes to this. We all do what we think is the best. So I just wanted to let it stand out a bit. So I'm using this Distress Oxide ink, which is corduroy. Yeah, I think it's one of that color. I'm not 100% sure the name, but I'm sure you all know all the colors of Tim Holtz. But it's a brownish orangey color. So now obviously I need to incorporate the zigzag pattern, and I'm just tearing off. What I find is also the paper of the paint feels quite sticky. Now I don't know if it is because it was on the jelly plate, or it's a paint that's so sticky, but it's sticky. It's dry, but it feels sticky. I don't know how to explain it. So I've just etched obviously the edges for that shrub, and I'm just decided to use this washi tape just to put it there at the bottom. I mean, this one is fairly simple. I enjoyed making the zigzag jelly plate print, so that was to me the main bit of it. The rest of it is fairly simple. So I'm just cutting this verse to size. Now my verse for the week, verse 7, was Exodus 34 verse 9. It says, "O Lord, if it is true that I have found favor with you, then please travel with me." And there's a beautiful verse that Moses said to God, "Please travel with me. I found favor." And it's a beautiful reminder that, yeah, we need God to travel with us. Now, swiftly, we're moving on to the next card. The next card's prompt was a napkin. As you can see, I've got this beautiful napkin, which I absolutely love. I'm just taking the layers off by using a sellotape trick, which you just put on there and you just lift it up. And then another one was, okay, it's napkin, a tab, scribbles, and metallic. So I'll show you later what I'm going to do for scribbles and metallic. Metallic I was stumped with because I didn't have the metallic paint, but I decided to use something else for metallic. Don't know if it's correct, but as I said, there is probably no police that's going to check on us to see if it's correct. Now I'm just cutting some of the leaves on this napkin, which I definitely wanted to incorporate on, obviously, the card, because that was part of the prompts. Now I'm using this clear stamp that my friend from South Africa sent me, but I didn't like it with the corduroy color. I thought it doesn't stand out enough, so I'm just using black just to put the scribbling on there. I don't know if I was supposed to do hand scribbling, but I decided to use that. So now I'm just putting the leaves on there. You can obviously use Mod Podge if you really want this leaf to blend in and protect them, if you want to put some other mediums over it. But I've decided I'm just going to use some Prit to put it on there. Now the next one obviously is a tab, so I need to put a tab on there, but because my printer's not working, I couldn't really find a tab or print out a tab that goes with it. So I just took this label that was lying around. This is part of my basic junk journal digital kit. I can link it down below if you're interested in picking it up. So I just thought that works perfectly. It goes very nicely together. For the metallic, I thought I'm going to use an eyelet, which is metallic as far as I know. And I'm also using this gold light ball pin, which I'm going to put this beautiful blue lace flowers on it. I thought it needed a little bit of color. Obviously I could do paint splatters, but I thought, yeah, I just love the combination of the blues with the vintage off-white papers and flowers. I thought I'm just going to cut one of the flowers off because it was a little bit too much, just like how that looked. But then the little pin didn't hang very nicely. Somehow you need a jump ring or something there to make it better. So I decided just to put some string to create a little bit more texture. Make a little bow there at the top. I must say, I love how this one turned out. This is definitely my favorite one. I mean, I loved working on the other one and doing the Gelli print, but I prefer this one, the aesthetic of it. So yeah, that is just, yeah, it's beautiful, all the muted colors. I nearly put that little blue bit on there, but then I thought, no, that's a little bit too much now. So I thought also to put a sentiment down at the bottom. I just backed it with a washi tape. Actually, this one says, "Come to me." Now in hindsight, I think actually that would have worked better with the other the card, because that was says more what Moses said to God, "Come with me." The other scripture was in Leviticus 19 verse 23 to 25, which is quite a long one, which I'm probably not going to read for you at the moment. You can read it yourself. It's quite a good principle about harvesting, and I sort of also thought you can apply to a ministry when you start a ministry. Okay, let me remind you of the prompts. Obviously, this one was a napkin to show you my dirty hands. And it was a tab, which we have at the top, and some scribbling and metallic. And this one was aqua blue, a tree, a book page, and some zigzag. So that was the 4 prompts. I will leave Sonjamizen Art, which is the lady who does this 52 deck challenge or whatever, or full deck challenge rather, that's the name of it. I will link all the details down below if you want to jump on board. It's lots of fun. And I will leave obviously all the other videos also for you down below, which I spoke about. Thanks very much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, please give it a like. Let me know if you're going to try out your Gelli plate. What do you think I did wrong, or what do you find interesting, or what can I improve of? Love to hear from you. Yeah, God willing, I'll speak to you on Tuesday. Have a great week. Lots of love. Bye-bye.